Hello and welcome to your weekly horoscope for week commencing the 11th of April for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you a broad overview of the key changes and influences, but if you would please stay with me, I will then dive deep to give you each of the 12 zodiac signs in detail. This week begins with Mercury, the planet of talk and thought, that influences communication and distribution and transport, moving into the sign of Taurus. This is the second phase of its journey. It's just finished 21 days in Aries, very much to do with initiation. The sign of Taurus is about foundations, values, worth, can be about money. So Mercury here is wanting to see more substance for the things we've been working on in recent weeks. But on Tuesday, Jupiter and Neptune come into an exact conjunction. They came within 3 degrees into conjunction from the end of March and will continue to be so through to the end of April. Now, because they're both the ruling planets of Pisces, and Venus moved into this sign last week where she is exalted, this gives us an opportunity to really embrace the more ephemeral side of life. It's not necessarily to do with what we can see, it's what we can feel, it's our instincts. Now at their best, these two coming together is asking us to find a higher truth. We can see the realities of life in lots of ways, can see how the distorting element of Neptune can be applied to information, Jupiter, especially when it comes to battles of philosophy in a less than constructive way. But we have a choice to embrace this energy in a positive manner. And of course, with Venus having moved there as well, this may be making us nostalgic for past relationships or for people who are no longer with us. Or it could see us thinking very seriously about those relationships which are not working for us and trying to find out what the meaning really is for us and how we might negotiate the situation. Now, because Mars is going to be moving into Pisces on Friday, some would argue, because Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, that Mars can exist in the sign of Pisces fine. But I feel that the water does tend to dissipate the wateriness, the mutability of Pisces, the intrinsic need for desire and attainment that Mars gives us, but it can help us over the following 6 weeks to think very, very deeply into situations, perhaps working behind the scenes. If you do work in a compassionate sector of healthcare or healing, then Mars moving into this area can be very good. Anything to do with working in a marine sector can also be encouraged by Mars's transit through this area. But on Saturday we do have the full moon in the sign of relating, aesthetics, presentation, art and fashion, of course Libra. But on the other side of the heavens we have the sun in the go-getting Aries, which is very much to do with us as individuals. The Libran influence is how we connect to others, but pivoting between the two is the position of Pluto in an exact T-square pretty well. And that builds up as the full moon emerges. I think some politics around balancing what we need for ourselves and what we're prepared to give or get from others is going to come more sharply into focus. But then as the week draws to a close, Mercury is accelerated forwards and is very close to Uranus. So that is pushing us to be as inventive and innovative as possible when it comes to how we approach things. But of course the sign of Taurus can resist change, and that's been creating quite a lot of stress. So Mercury being there just can make us a bit more agile, flexible and nimble about how we do deal with facing up to the reality that a lot of raw materials and the things we consume have become more expensive. But if you are someone who's entrepreneurial, it's a great opportunity to think outside the box about how you might make the most of a talent, and especially through anything that has a digital output or is just very fresh in its approach. If you, for example, identify a service which no one else is providing, then you can seize the opportunity really quickly. Things happen quickly with Uranus in the mix, so maybe an unexpected conversation or something to do with a financial change can present itself as this week draws to a close. Now, if you are new to my channel, I would be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap the bell notification symbol. Also, if you'd like to ascend above this Zodiac broadcast and embrace more serious astrology, please see my special offer below, where you can get a year's forecast and your character analysis based on your time, date and place of birth. And if you give me those 3 pieces of information, I can give you so much back to help guide your moves, not just in the next year, but in terms of understanding your deeper potentials and how you can seize those, make the most of them future forward for many moons. Hello Cancer, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for week commencing the 11th of April. Now, because Mercury is going to be making its way into your sector of the universal, where you connect to others. And of course, in this area already, you've got Uranus and the North Node. So friendships and the collective and your longer term plans have all been emphasized in a big way since the middle of January this year in particular. And later this week, Mercury is going to be aligning with Uranus. So being very open-minded about your future plans is going to be a really smart thing to do. But of course, as Mercury moves on, so Mars makes the transition into the sign of Pisces. And on Tuesday, we do have a connection between Jupiter and Neptune, which has been building up since the end of March. It becomes exact, even if it is going to continue within 3 degrees through to the end of this month. And your higher truth is really going to have an opportunity to shine on the back of Tuesday's event. But once Mars arrives on Friday, I think the desire is going to be a bit more rugged about how you engage with that higher truth. And one of the ways you can do that is definitely by embracing that more independent side of your nature. And if you can, I think some form of travel or adventure is definitely going to be a big part of your situation from the 6 weeks as this week draws to a close. So you're going to look for changes of scene. You may find yourself with a sudden need to break free of restrictions. But of course the Sun continues its journey in the 10th house, very much to do with your career, your worldly responsibilities. And by the end of this week, it comes into that full moon in Libra. Now, Libra is all about relationships. For you, the 4th house of Libra is actually about your relationships with family members, particularly, or more emotional relationships. And because Pluto is intersecting both the Sun in Aries and the Moon in Libra, I think any politics that has been simmering in the background around relationships that are close to you could come to the surface. And one of the strands, I think, might be if you feel that you're providing a lot of support, a lot of encouragement, a lot of nurture for others, but you're not necessarily getting that back. That could be an issue. Or it could be that if you're someone who wants to really make the key decisions in your close unit, that someone could push back against that. And as much as all this 9th house energy that's developing in Pisces can be very exciting, it may be a platform for someone to be very frank with you about how they see your activities and your approach. But in general, I think this is a very exciting week, but when it comes to those worldly responsibilities, I think balancing it with home, your personal needs is important. So if you're very much focused on work, don't forget the support structures. If you're providing all the support structures, you'd be quite right to firm up your boundaries somewhat.